wanted to do it. I mean, they were probably some pretty monks back then and friars. They basically they studied a lot for the most part.
They were very intelligent.
Yeah, they were very much, even though that science was like not
against God,
they did science anyway, like their own form of science.
Yeah. Well, I mean, doing that is science.
For sure. If they were in a period of like pestilence or there was disease around, because there's constantly like things going
something
around.
happening,
The bodies would be bathed in arsenic.
Oh, God.
That's healthy. And these mummies that they did this to are still mostly intact now.
Wow.
Like the arsenic really preserved them.
What about the poor guy doing that? He's breathing it in and touching it. They probably died left and right. I don't know why are people that are mummifying people keep dying.
I mean, I don't know if they had, like, at first they probably didn't have a lot of people getting mummified at a time.
True.
Because it's just one little monastery. At first it was just the monks at the monastery.
Now, then they started getting other people. Okay.
And they also, like, for embalming. And we'll get into the embalming is basically using chemicals injected into the body.
Right.
And a lot of times, like back then when they would embalm someone, they would leave all their organs intact and they would just like inject them.
And it just turned to mush inside.
No.
Mm-mm. What does it do?
They're embalmed. They were just like.
What happens? It just preserved their organs.
It preserved everything. Yeah.
Gotcha.
What they were not like great about. They definitely weren't eco-friendly with their.
Well, no, if
chemicals
you're pouring arsenics all over the place. Really.
So going forward, in 1783, they started allowing anyone who wanted to be buried there to be buried there, and they built on more corridors. So eventually they had like 4 main corridors that kind of like a square, and these were all underground.
Wow.
So it's the best humidity, temperature-wise, to preserve them. Yep. And from the 17th to the 19th centuries, thousands of wealthy Palermo citizens and rich celebrities would be buried in the catacombs.
Wow.
If they could afford the generous donation, I'm using quotation fingers here.
Donation.
To the friars to mummify them for eternal display and visitation, because people could go visit their dead ones after they were embalmed. And the equivalent, it would be equivalent to about 50,000 euros.
Holy poo.
In this day and age is what these people were paying.
Where do people come up with that kind of
There was
money?
tons of, because they had serfs.
We're
talking about,
that's true. The
like,
nobles.
The nobles had money and everyone else didn't. So it's all rich people.
The serfs weren't in there, that's for sure.
No. So the cemetery, like, eventually Palermo, they banned the practice that the monks were using for mummification because of the draining of body fluid. They said it was, like, it could spread disease. So they're like, you can't do that anymore.
Because you're getting into the soil and crap.
So the cemetery closed in 1880, with the exception of 2 more people buried there. And in 1911, that was Giovanni Paterniti.
Giovanni.
And in 1920, Rosalia Lombardi.
Oh, I love that name.
And this was the most beautiful mummy in the world, they claimed her as. And she was 2.
She was 2.
She died a week before she turned 2.
Poor little
She had
baby.
Spanish influenza, and it went to pneumonia, and that's what eventually killed her. There are more than 8,000 corpses in the catacombs, and about 1,252 mummies in the catacombs.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. So, the 2 people that were interred there after it was closed, the Giovanni Paterniti and Rosalia Lombardi, they were actually both embalmed by the same man.
Okay.
His name was Alfredo Salafia.
Oh, I love it.
Love all these names. And he would do an injection of chemicals to preserve the flesh. And he was born in 1869 and he died in 1933. He did not complete medical school. He was self-taught chemist and a taxidermist.
You get it, Alfredo.
And he embalmed over 100 bodies, and it was said that he carried around with him in a bag the embalmed head of a peasant to show off his skill of embalming.
Okay, you're a little weird,
but
good for you.
I didn't find that on the website.
They didn't tell you that.
No, I found that.
They don't brag about that.
Yeah, they don't talk about that. He used like for when he died, and I mean he embalmed them, and he died like 20 years after. So I mean it was, but they everybody thought he took his secret recipe
with him
when he died, and then recently people have been studying the mummies and stuff there, and they found his notes and found the recipe, and he used a mixture of formalin, which is formaldehyde, zinc salts, alcohol, salicylic acid, and glycerin.
Oh,
this could be, except for the formalin, it could be skincare.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it sounds
Seriously.
like stuff in your skincare.
It does.
I bet their skin was
Salicylic
supple and
acid
nice.
is wonderful for acne.
Yeah.
It's like a
So it's in any acne.
It's a BHA peel, you know. It's funny.
Yeah, and just think of how supple and wonderful their skin was.
He would treat the face of who he was embalming with a mixture of paraffin dissolved in ether to keep the flesh full.
Okay.
So they didn't look skeletal. It would basically
Plump
make
their skin.
It basically made their face still look plump and alive.
That's what we all need to stop our
I'm
wrinkles.
telling you, this little girl is beautiful.
Ooh, I
Even
can't
now,
wait to see the pictures.
she's got blonde curly. I mean, it just looks like a little girl sleeping.
Crazy.
It's insane. I saw the picture. I'm like, no way. You can see the blue of her eyes.
What?
Her eyes are blue.
Her
She
eyes
still
are
has
not
eyeballs.
cloudy or
She has-
anything.
No, she has eyeballs. And
That's
they're blue.
insane.
You can see.
That's insane.
It gets more insane.
Oh.
Okay, so she was born, little Rosalia. She was born on December 13th of 1918 and died December 6th, 1920.
Oh,
So she
poor
was like
baby.
exactly a week before her second birthday. She was a little Sicilian girl. She contracted Spanish influenza and died from pneumonia from the flu.
Right.
It went to pneumonia, and that's what happened back then. They didn't have like
Now,
antibiotics or anything.
COVID pneumonia.
X-rays that have been done on her now reveal all of her organs and her brain. They're all intact. They're smaller, but they're there. You can see them in an MRI. You can see her brain.
That's crazy.
It's insane. It really is. She's kept in a glass coffin in a small chapel at the end of the catacomb. Right, like when you do the tour, the last room you get to is the room where she's in, and it's
beautiful.
the child room. There's like, I'll get to it later. There's like so many. There's like 30 some children there.
Oh God, that's awful.
People, rich people,
I know.
their baby, you know.
I would do that for my baby.
Yep.
probably.
And at certain times of the day, her eyes appear to open and close. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And you can look up on YouTube for a
No.
time-lapse photo of her eyes opening and closing.
No.
But it's all an optical illusion because her eyes are never really closed.
Okay.
During the mummification, her eyes are open, and that's why you can see what color her eyes are. And it's that light at certain times of the day.
The shadow.
It's the shadow, so it looks like, because the shadow is above, and it looks like her eyes are shut, and then it moves, and it looks like her eyes open up.
That's
It is the creepiest thing ever. Like, there's all kinds of like lore about this little girl.
Oh, I'm sure
like,
there is.
She's haunted. Her mommy is haunted.
Yeah.
Because her eyes open and close. Like, they don't really. Like, there's an Italian man who's been studying. He's the one that found the recipe.
Okay. The
secret recipe. And he said that it's an optical illusion. You can do it with a flashlight. You move a flashlight in front of her face, and it makes it look like her eyes.
Isn't that crazy?
I was like, what? Her eyes open and shut! I'm like, that's terrifying! I'm gonna have nightmares. But no, they don't really know. And I'm going to go through some other people that are said to be in here. And these aren't even necessarily monks. There's some ones I see. Just
Oh no!
I'm gonna try not to laugh when I get.
I don't want to know now.
Okay, so the family, when people would be interred here, the family would visit on the Day of the Dead, which is November 2nd, and they would bring fresh clothes and pay their respects, and they would change the clothes of
they changed their
loved one that's dead and laying there.
Okay.
I'm like, it's just like, it just creeps me out. Like, I don't know, because it's not them. It's not them. I don't think that would be hard to move on. Like,
all their stuff is gone.
I can't. It's just no thanks.
You. Don't do that to me either.
The women who could afford to be mummified, they were kept in a separate room because you can't intermingle even when they're dead.
Well, men
And the only
don't take no for an
women-
answer,
the
even
only-
in death.
The only women that they would allow in this
Yeah.
were women who were virgins
Oh, God.
when they died. Yes.
Figures.
Of course. They were all virgins, and they were dressed in immaculate wedding gowns. And
Creepy.
kept, like, okay, these girls are virgins, and you're still gonna keep them away from the men.
I know.
And they're dead. Like,
And they're dead.
seriously.
But you put them in wedding gowns, so in case they want to get married.
Well, marrying Jesus, I guess. I don't know.
It's weird.
It is weird. And that one passage has the mummies. They have 38 children that have been mummified there. And then the women's room. I'm rolling my eyes.
Can you hear the eye roll?
You can hear my eyes rolling. In 1836, the catacombs were visited by Alexander Dumas.
Dumas.
And he wrote The Three
God.
Musketeers.
Oh, cool.
Yes, but he wrote all about the experience. You can look it up.
Oh,
And
cool.
all this stuff. And a lot of the stuff he said wasn't completely accurate because he was...
A writer.
Right, but also he didn't see the whole picture. Like, he talked about how they embalmed, but he didn't know that, like, after they dried them out, that they did other stuff to them. He thought they just put them on display. That didn't happen.
Gotcha.
Antonio Presta.
Presta.
He died in 1844, and he was known as a libertine and a lover of women.
Oh, I bet he was.
He was called the Don Juan of the Catacombs.
That's why they had to keep the women
and
separate.
He's still there, and it's like you could tell. Like he's
Yeah,
there,
that suave.
and he just because they have him on display, and he's sitting there, and he just his head's tilted, and it just looks like he's like, oh yeah, like he's there, like he's still there to gaze at the women that walk in. I'm like, that's creepy.
And he's the reason why the women are kept separate. I bet right there, it's his
and
fault.
he was embalmed with arsenic and mercury, and he has 2 glass eyes.
Ewy.
So he still stares at people.
Ew.
Yeah. And a lot of these other stories about mummies who are there, they don't give the name. They didn't give the names because a lot of it is probably folklore. But it's fun, and I'm going to read it.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay, so one rumored occupant of the catacombs was said to be very well endowed.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes. And it was said that a woman could come in and rub a cloth
No.
on this mummy.
Oh, my God.
And then on her husband to endow him. I know. And one lady who had done this said that she saw the mummy's ghost take over her husband while in bed. And she was scared, right? And he was eventually exorcised by a blacksmith who fashioned him a metal codpiece. And it trapped the ghost in it. See what I had to...
So his chastity belt trapped it.
He had to wear this codpiece, and then when he would take it off, the ghost was trapped in the codpiece.
I
then
see.
he could be with his wife and not have the ghost take over him with his
maybe the ghost was better.
Maybe the wife wanted the ghost to do it.
Yeah, maybe the ghost was better than her husband. I don't know.
He was well endowed, and her husband needed some help.
You go in and rub a cloth. How offended would your husband be if he saw you rubbing the cloth?
I'm like, don't rub that on a mummy's crotch and then rub it on your husband's crotch.
Do not come near me with that
Never.
cloth.
Take the cloth and go burn it. But yeah, that was,
God.
fun.
That's horrifying.
It's awesome. It's fabulous. No,
I'm sweating. I'm laughing so hard.
I couldn't wait to. I'm like writing it. You can see my handwriting is like laughing as I'm writing down.
That's so funny.
One of the watchmen at the catacombs kept finding women's underwear behind a specific mummy.
Ew.
Yes. And a village woman reported to being visited by an unknown man's ghost who would propose to her, and when she would reject him, he would steal her underwear and leave. This lady was probably going and hiding her underwear behind this mummy, so she had a story to tell.
It's
but
like
yes,
he's a rock star throwing
woo!
panties at
She's
him.
like, will you marry me? No. Fine.
I'll take your underwear.
And I'll leave. So he was bringing him back and storing him behind his mummy. But this watcher said he found it all the time.
So she was in there all the time dropping her pants. Maybe she was over by the other guy with the rubbing the cloth. People
are weird, okay? People are
God.
so weird.
Oh. Oh,
mummy.
you saved the best for last,
I
didn't
did.
you?
They refer to him as ill